All right, the Charlotte Hornets, I think, are the least likely team to win a championship ever. Maybe even they don't win a championship. Maybe a expansion team wins a championship before the Charlotte Hornets. Here's why. I don't think there's anything changing within the organization that would lead me to believe that anything's going to be different. Because what the Pistons did, this could have gone sideways. So what the Pistons did, because let's be honest, like the Pistons were worse. The Pistons were a worse team last year. They added some veterans. They added Tobias Harris and Malik Beasley, two guys who no one, people made fun of last year. They're like, dude, these guys are bad. These guys are trash. Signed them both, playing pretty well. JB Bickerstaff, probably going to be coach of the year. I think he should be. Kenny Atkinson took over a really good team, granted, and then they've been losing quite a bit. It's going to be JB Bickerstaff, right? So the Hornets could have done this. Somebody could have put them in a position where they could be succeeding. And to me, it smells a little bit like last season. I don't see this team changing. So I don't mean to bully the Hornets. They've made the semifinals, the Eastern Conference semifinals, 3 times in the 35 years that they've existed. I think they're as old as me. I could be wrong. But I think this is an accursed organization. Now it's owned by private equity people. Michael Jordan has a minority. He's a governor. We're saying governor now. We're not saying owner. He's a minority governor. I assume Michael Jordan's still calling the shots, and here's why. Because the people that bought it, private equity firm. Here's the thing. People say, who owns the team? Like the, whatever, Chisholm guy that bought the Celtics. Everyone says, oh, it's this guy that bought the team. No, a private equity firm bought the team. A big pile of money bought the team. So these private equity guys that own the Hornets, I'm sure when Michael Jordan talks, they listen and they do what he says. How are you going to say, yeah, Michael, actually, I think we're going to go with a different coach. I think we're going to go with a different general manager. I don't know anything about the new general manager of the Charlotte Hornets. I do know Mitch Kupchak governed the team or managed the team for a very long time, and they weren't good. I don't think this season has changed much at all. LaMelo Ball is a great player, okay? But it's just not amounting to winning. So what do? Do the Hornets, do they just say, we're going to build around Brandon Miller? We're going to try this at least. Because I'd like to see, I'm worried about LaMelo. I think I'm sounding like a broken record. I want him traded. I want him to go somewhere else. I want him to make the playoffs once. Make the first round of the playoffs. Send him somewhere. Do a deal with the Heat. Do a deal with the Pelicans. Do a Zion for LaMelo trade. Do something where he can at least get into that first round of the playoffs. It'd be nice because I like him. I like him as a player. The funny thing about, John Salon, I don't know how to say his name. I know I'm disrespectful. I can't do a French accent. Bad season. So their young guy who they signed this year is seeming at this point to be a dud. Again, I hate criticizing these really young guys, these rookies, because if someone would have just made a YouTube video saying that I sucked when I was a 20-year-old kid, it would have devastated me. Maybe these guys are stronger of mind than I am, but it just never feels right. So they're paying Grant Williams. Grant Williams is a Hornet. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know if they're playing him. Guys, I don't watch Hornets games. And they're paying Nurkic for 2 more years. I think they might be paying Grant Williams in the 20 millions for 3 more years. So they've got guys on contracts for a long time that they've got to pay. So it doesn't look like the Hornets are moving in a direction where they're going to be putting a banner up. I hate to break it to you. So their draft situation isn't bad. They own their own picks, pretty much. And they own a Dallas and a Miami pick. That's okay. But again, it does feel a little bit like they can get good players. They can get Brandon Williams and they can get LaMelo Ball, but hasn't mattered, unfortunately. Pelicans, here's the thing about the Pelicans. They don't really have a fan base. So I did a research on my other video one time, my other channel. I wanted to know which fan base doesn't exist. Like, which fan base has the least amount of fans? I was looking up different capacity, how much they fill the stadium, how much tickets cost, and it was the Pelicans. I even looked at Twitter, how many mentions a team got, or how many hashtags, or what the general vibe was. I looked on Reddit. Guys, Pelicans don't have a lot of fans. So that definitely has to do with free agents wanting to go there. People want to go to a city and be celebrated. I would, if I had a talent like that. They don't have any huge contracts, which is kind of nice, except for Zion. Obviously, Zion's huge contract. But there still might be value with the Zion contract. Could you get someone to bite on that? I think you could. I think you could get something to consider. When you look at it, Kawhi Leonard. Just a thought. It's one of those things where I don't know either. I don't know, right? Because the gripe with both of them, they sort of have the same problem. Just something to think about. I just like to see Zion out of there, and I could see the Pelicans being... If you're David Griffin, who I believe is a good manager, if you're David Griffin, there has to be part of you that just wants to move on. You ever have like a bad job or a bad relationship, and there's a lot of good parts, and you're really trying to make it work, or you don't... Mainly with the job, you don't know what you're going to do without the job. You don't know where the money's going to come from, but then you just quit. You just end the job, and you're the fear of where am I going to meet my ends is overpowered by the relief that I don't have to do that anymore. Everything about that job, all of the things that occupy my mind are gone. I imagine David Griffin will trade, once he trades Zion, even if you get Kawhi straight up, but let's say people don't like it, he's going to say, it's over. It's over. I don't have to watch every game, monitoring him, making sure he doesn't move too fast and tweak his crotch. It's over. I don't have to do that. He's the Clippers' problem. I could see that happening. And I think the rest of the team is good. I think they have good players. I think it's just a down year for them. This is sort of the Grizzlies year of last year for the Pelicans. So I think it's more likely in their future than the Hornets that they could get a championship. That's just my opinion. And the draft situation is not bad. They own most of their own. I believe they own all their own. And they have one from Milwaukee, I assume from the Drew Holiday trade. Pretty good. And David Griffin got a first rounder from the BI trade. Got rid of Brandon Ingram, who ran its course. Probably another one where he was having a real sense of relief where he didn't have to worry about that dark cloud of this guy wants more money than I'm willing to sign him a contract for, and he's mad all the time. So, business, man. Business is personal. I hate it when people say, oh, it's nothing personal. Anything related to business, people say, well, it's nothing personal. It's like, yeah, I know it's not personal, but this is the way we live. This is our way of life, our job. So it has a lot to do with my self-worth. So don't tell me it's not personal, because I'm going to take it personally. So evidently, you're like, wait, the Sacramento Kings have won a championship before. Actually, shut up. 1951 as the Rochester Royals. If you go to Sacramento and you're talking to a Kings fan and you say, yeah, that one championship back in 1951 when the team was in Rochester, they're not going to regale the glory days of before they were born, before the team is in the city they live in. So in my opinion, I'm including them on this list, and I think that's fair. Their draft situation, they got a B+. They're missing a pick. They're missing one first-round pick, but they got one from SAS from the De'Aaron Fox trade, and then one from Minnesota. Not sure where that came from. I think it actually came from the De'Aaron Fox trade as well, right? Yeah, they got that one. I think it's a 2031 pick from Minnesota, which could be really bad. That could be or their team could be really bad, so that could be a pretty good pick. And the Kings, I was watching them last night. Who are they playing? The Bucks. I don't not believe in that team. they've got some bucket getters. They've got too many bucket getters is the problem, I think. You got Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox, and Zach LaVine all on that team. And then you're also paying Zach LaVine for 2 more years after that. So their contracts are their payroll's pretty booked up, which is kind of discouraging. They're such a middle of the pack team. And they need a new coach. I don't think they're going to stick with Doug Christie, unless I didn't get the news and they've actually hired him as their full-time coach, which I don't think they have. So they're sort of going to be in a phase where they got to get used to each other again. So I don't see anything happening very soon. I think that's it. Otherwise I do like the Kings. I am a Kings fan. I think they're cool. I think they're a cool team. For some reason, I like the guys on that team. They're paying Sabonis, by the way, for 2 more years as well. Might be 3 more years as well. But I think Sabonis is good, and I think they're good with Sabonis. But I could see them. Could they? I don't know. I hate saying blow it up. I feel like I'm always telling people to blow it up. Keep it all the same. Keep it all the same. I like those guys. Maybe trade. I almost said D-Rose. DeRozan's on a pretty good contract, so. Somebody could use a bucket getter because you already have Malik Monk. They kind of look the same sometimes when out there. They're about the same height. The Utah Jazz. Okay, so you got Danny Ainge as your GM or your vice president of basketball. I don't know what he is, but he's the guy. He's the face of the team. He is a draft pick hoarder. He always has. And when he was in Boston, he was a trade exception hoarder, which I think is even more dorky. Apparently, he would brag about his trade exception he got from. What deal was it? Oh, it was the Gordon Hayward deal. He would brag about the trade exception that he had, which I think actually expired without him using it, which is really funny. You don't win a championship, but you got a cool trade exception for $30 million that eventually expired. Hilarious. So Danny Ainge is now the GM of Utah, and they suck. They're really bad. And even if he had traded Lauri Markkanen this trade deadline, it would have upset me. It shouldn't have upset me, but it would have upset me. Just from this idea in the NBA, sort of like the process situation where you just keep getting worse. You say, ooh, I'll trade Lauri Markkanen, this guy that I'm paying a max contract to, that I just signed a max contract to get maybe I'll get a first-round pick. You lose sight of the fact that you're an NBA team trying to win a championship, and you end up playing this mini game of accruing draft picks, which I find pretty embarrassing. But Lauri Markkanen is still on the team, thankfully. But Clarkson's sitting out. I think Clarkson, did I hear that right? I think he's sitting out the rest of the season because he plans to sign with the Lakers in the offseason. Maybe I got NBA Centel. I might have. Maybe I did, because NBA Centel, they're just doing stories that are absolutely believable. They're stories that someone like Jordan Clarkson could hear that story and say, maybe I will do that. If that's not a true story, maybe I will sit out. Maybe I will ask them, because they're not going to play me. They don't want to win. So I don't see the Jazz winning anytime soon. It's not a free agent destination. I like Salt Lake City. I've been there a few times. And I really enjoyed my time there. It's very beautiful. It's very clean as well. So I don't know why people don't want to go there. I'm sure the taxes aren't California taxes. So yeah, having Danny Ainge, maybe they're just burned. They do spend money. When they went in, Gobert and Mitchell were getting paid a lot of money. So I believe they were they're paying luxury tax during that time. So that's a good sign. The owner is at least willing to spend, which is kind of nice. The ownership group, I believe that one also is a private equity firm or venture capital group, one of the two. So the Suns, here's the thing, Matt Ishbia, there is a single owner for the Suns, or at least the majority owner that has become the governor of the team, Matt Ishbia. The problem is, I was listening to Kevin O'Connor talk about him the other day, or maybe it was his podcast co-host, who I forget his name, Tom Habershaw, man, don't remember, but he was saying that he doesn't want to blow it up. He still thinks his team is good. And apparently he said, everyone wants to blow it up. Everyone wants to shut the whole thing down. Everyone's always talking about, which I do agree. Everyone always is talking about giving up and blowing the team up. That's not wrong. But in this case, it's something he should do. So it's one of those things where you're like, you do have a point, but in your particular instance, your point is wrong. You should absolutely gut this whole team and try to get as many first round picks for Booker and Durant. Booker and Durant. I'll just say it. Part of me worries about this team because right now they're in the play-in, and I'm worried that they maybe win a play-in game, or even worse, make the playoffs, and they start to think, hey, I wasn't so bad. You know what I mean? There's part of me that thinks they might get hope, and I'm scared. So I want them to lose because I'm like, no, don't have any hope. Feel bad. Give up. Don't try. So I am worried about them. Their draft situation is really bad. They know so much to the Nets for getting Kevin Durant. It's atrocious. Also, I find it impossible to read anything about pick swaps. Pick swaps, and then when you add a protected pick into a pick swap, and there's so many contingencies, I give up. I just paste it into ChatGPT and say, hey, give me some sort of summary of what this means. And it doesn't have to be accurate. It just needs to be, I just need to understand, more than likely, are the Suns or the Nets going to get this pick? And a lot of it's going to the Nets. So the Suns don't really have much coming. They could have used Tamani Kamara. That's the guy that went to Portland, I believe, in the Nurk trade. So I think I said that last week. I apologize. I'm repeating myself. So James Jones is the current GM that Matt Ishbia. I think Matt Ishbia hired James Jones. I could be wrong. No. James Jones has been there for a while. And then, so his contract will be up, but Matt Ishbia will probably hire. Is he still fucking around with Isaiah Thomas? Do you remember that? I think Isaiah Thomas was the guy in his ear saying to trade Chris Paul. Do you remember that drama? That sort of blew over. That did happen, though. So it'd be crazy if they hired Isaiah Thomas, especially with everything that happened when he was at the Knicks. I'd love it, though. Something to talk about, you know. We're just hanging out. Something to gossip about. So, yeah, this team is... I still think, given that they have Booker and they have Durant, they still have some... Those are chips to play with, to restart with. So I put them at 8. Plus, I think people want to, as free agents, want to go to Arizona. It's warm. There's women there. I've seen them. There's women. Pacers. The problem with the Pacers is they're really good. They're really good, but they're not good enough. And they don't like...
I found this on the web for a
Oh, no.
They're really good. They're really good. Check it out.
Dude. Here's the problem with Siri. With Siri, hopefully it doesn't talk again. Siri, and then I don't want to talk to it, but I have the Google thing. They stopped developing them, so they suck now. And occasionally they just interrupt conversations. We all thought that was like the Alexa and all that. That's the way it was going. We stopped developing it. So now it's just sort of there. And nobody wants to just turn it off. Like, I don't use it. I don't talk to I used it for a while, but now it's breaking because they don't work on it anymore. It's over. We need to just turn Siri off. So the problem with the Pacers is they're good, but they're never good enough. They're always the bridesmaid, you know? They're always I don't know how many times they've been in the Eastern Conference Finals, but quite a bit. I mean, back with Reggie, and then I think they were there with the Heat one year, Paul George. But if you can't get free agents because you're in Indiana, listen, I'm from Indiana, and I get it. But it's a nice stadium. So you got to get the hardworking guys. You got to get the Naismiths. You got to get the Nemhards. You got to get the Benedict Matherins and draft them, or, you know, get them from the Celtics when they don't like them, and then brainwash them into staying on your team, and then pay them when their contracts are up. So a lot of those guys are on pretty cheap contracts, but they're going to want to get extensions when the time is right. Miles Turner is a free agent at the end of the year. So we'll find out if the Pacers are willing to go into the luxury tax to win a championship. I don't know. But we're going to find out at the end of the year. Or maybe they'll do something else. I got a feeling they're going to... I got a feeling Miles Turner... Because Miles Turner will have to go to a team that has cap space. I don't think he's going to want to do that. I think he's like 29 years old. So I think he's going to go to a team... Maybe he goes to... I don't know. Where do you think he would go? I think he stays as a Pacer. And the Pacers pay some luxury tax. But they're not going to pay that much luxury tax. And I still don't think they're going to be good enough to win a championship anytime soon. But I don't think they're going to be really bad for a long time. I just think they're going to be the Pacers. They're just going to keep being the Pacers, and I don't see a championship in their future because they can't get a free agent, and they don't pay luxury tax. They won't do a trade. They won't do a trade that will put them into the second apron or something. They won't do a trade for Kevin Durant. It's not how they do. I'm not even saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying they won't do it. Even if they were in a situation where that's all it would take, they ain't doing it. Orlando. So why did I put Orlando above the Pacers? And really the reason is I like their draft situation. I think they own all their picks. And they have one from Denver from the Aaron Gordon trade. I think they still have one coming. A lot of those guys are already on the team now from that trade. But their current situation is good. They're a play-in team right now, and they almost have everyone back. Suggs isn't back. Well, Suggs came back, and now he's not. Suggs' contract kicks in, and so does Franz Wagner's contract kicks in next year. So I think they're in the tax. They're like pretty deep in the tax next season. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure. So, again, this is another team whose roster, the money is filled up. So this is the team. KCP is on the team. They're good. I like the draft situation. And if they do find themselves when Jonathan Isaac's contract expires with cap space, I think they can sign a free agent because you don't have to pay. You don't have income tax in Florida. And that's something they don't really sell enough in the NBA, is the fact that you do not have to pay income tax. And if you're an NBA player, that's a lot of money, especially if you're signing a max contract. If they get space and they can sign a guy, maybe, yeah, that's a selling point. And Orlando's nice. I've been there. Everyone makes fun of it, but I really enjoyed the times I've been there. So I think I have the Timberwolves too high. I thought about this. Because they gave up so much for Rudy Gobert. Where's their draft? I don't even have their draft situation up here, do I? No, I don't. No. Anyway, I don't know about new ownership either. Glenn Taylor didn't like to spend money. Of course, most of these owners don't like spending money. If you look at all the payrolls of all the teams, they sit around $67 million. Basically, every single team is staying below the luxury tax because they don't want to pay it. So will the new guys spend lots of money? I think they're saying they will. I think they wanted public support. So A-Rod and company, I don't know the other guy's name. Sorry if you're watching this video, but they'll say, yeah, we're going to spend lots of money. We really want this team to be good. You're not going to regret selling the team to us. This is going to be awesome. But then when it comes down to it and they start actually looking at how the luxury tax multiplies, they're going to say, let's keep it under $167 million. Let's just, we don't want to get in the second apron where we can't aggregate contracts. Like, sure, that's it. So the team got worse without Cat. I feel like nobody wants to say it. Everyone has hope for Julius Randle, who has a player option next year, and he's probably going to take him up on it. Is someone going to pay Julius Randle more than $30 million? I don't know. I don't think they are. Is there anyone interested in that type of player? Maybe the Kings will sign him. Maybe the Kings will get another ball stopper. I don't know. So I have them kind of high just because I think there is something with this window. But again, you got Naz Reid. He's coming up on a free agency. They're not going to pay him because they're already so far into the luxury tax. It's going to cost them so much money. There's no way they're going to pay him. Somebody else is going to sign him. He's going to go play for a bad team that has cap space. That's what's going to happen. So I think I have this team too high because really what I'm basing this on is the current iteration of the team, and I don't think it's good enough. Sorry, Wolves fans. The Grizzlies are good, and they're always pretty good. And I think that's what I'm basing this off of. They're always consistently managed well, and Taylor Jenkins is a good coach. Their current situation is an A. They're deep. Even some guys aren't having the greatest season. Desmond Bane's been, it's not, not the best season, and you're paying him a lot. And I think I had something about their money situation. They're not spending a lot of money, but Triple J is due for an extension at the end of the season, and he'll probably be third team All-NBA. So he will be eligible for it. They probably won't offer it to him, but the largest contract of all time. But they're probably not. It's going to be one of those awkward conversations. Because if he's Defensive Player of the Year, or if he's All-NBA, he'll be eligible for it. And they're not going to give it to him, because as good as he is, he's not a Supermax guy. So it's just going to be sort of an awkward conversation. I imagine they're hoping he doesn't win the award, right? Just so you don't have to have that conversation where you say, hey, so I'm eligible for, $350 million over the course of the next 5 years. And you guys love me. Where do I sign? And then you say, how about $290 million? Still a lot of money. So I think this team's going to be good. And I believe in Ja. I think they're keeping Ja on ice. That's just my personal opinion. And I think they should, because they're a good team. They got Jalen Wells, Huff, Santi Aldama, Scottie Pippen Jr. all on cheap contracts for a pretty long time. Brooklyn Nets, I think they could do it. And the main reason I think the Brooklyn Nets could do it is because Joe Tsai is rich. And he's okay with spending. He's done it before. He's spent lots of money on his team. He's not afraid of getting into the luxury tax, and that's very important. I also think people like being in Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn is a good brand. Again, they don't have a lot of fans. They're sort of the Knicks' little brother. But I think that could have been cool. If KD and Kyrie, it could have been successful. I think when they went there, it didn't feel weird. Brooklyn seemed like a hot spot. So I think the willingness to spend, I think their draft situation is really good. They got a lot of picks from the Mikal Bridges trade. Schroeder and DFS brought back in, I think, only second-round picks, but nevertheless, something to work with. Clax and Cam Johnson are on long contracts that are cheap contracts. I think they're just going to keep them. They're not going to trade them for more. They're actually going to work around them. I don't think they're bad because they're losing, but they're barely losing, which is the best way to lose, because you're proving the concept that this team is good and it works, but you're not winning, giving yourself worse draft odds. So I like this team. The Clippers can do it. I really do believe in the Clippers, because even this team right now, it's not great. I don't think this team wins a championship. I don't think with James Harden they win a championship. I'm not dissing James Harden. I'm saying over the life cycle, I think he's going to be there the rest of his career. I think over the life cycle of this current Clippers team, Norm Powell, Zubac, I don't know if Bogey will still be there, but I don't think they win a championship. But the fact is, Steve Ballmer is incredibly wealthy, and I know he's owned the team for 10 some years now, and they haven't won a championship, so why would it matter? It doesn't seem to have mattered yet. I still think it does, because the fact is, I think the team has talent. They've just had some bad Yahtzee dice rolls. So I don't think they're cursed. I'm not superstitious. I don't believe in curses. So I sort of have to believe in this team that money can get them there. Money and not being Matt Ishbia, having a decent amount of basketball knowledge and being a little bit thrifty, I think this team can do it. Again, not as currently constructed, but I think it's definitely more so in the cards for them than a lot of these teams. And people like Los Angeles. It is a really nice place to live. People like it. People like going there. I know the Clippers aren't cool, but a lot of the guys in the NBA during the offseason live in this town. And that does something for you. You can live at home. You can work. That matters. So I like the Clippers. No talented youth at all. They gave up so much. Their draft assets are really bad. They gave up so much getting all their guys. So, again, that's not good. And then PG ended up walking in free agency. They didn't do a sign and trade or anything. So they have no talented youth whatsoever. There's no one on that team coming up on rookie contracts that really matters, unfortunately. But that's what happens when you trade everything for a couple of guys. OKC Thunder. Here's the thing. A lot of, again, people saying 1979, the Sonics won the championship. This is not that team. Well, actually, they kept the history when they moved the team. You're right. You're right. I'm sorry. The OKC Thunder, I think, are most likely to win a championship as the OKC Thunder the soonest. Because their current situation literally could not be any better. Their draft assets literally couldn't be any better. Multiple first rounders until 2029. Closest they've come, there's the 2012 finals. This team, like Oklahoma City, if you're not a basketball fan, you're sort of missing out on one of the premium attributes of your city, right? I assume there's a lot of people there that don't care about basketball, don't care about sports, or only care about football, only care about the Sooners. But you've got a great basketball team on your hands. Sam Presti, probably the best GM in the league, because you're in a situation where you have the best team in the league, then you also have the best. You're in a situation where people would offer their best player to you, and you would say no. You just say, no, I actually like all of our guys in the way it's currently constructed, and I'm worried your guy would throw our team off, which is a pretty cool place to be. Mark Daigneault, best coach in the league, I can say that. I can say that with confidence. I don't think there's any better coach. And then historically, OKC doesn't pay luxury tax, but I don't think they're going to need to. I don't think they're going to need to because they have all these draft assets, and they got all these guys on cheap contracts. I think they can start flipping guys like Isaiah Joe, maybe Aaron Wiggins, to get even more draft capital. That's what I'm thinking. So, OKC Thunder, again, a lot of people probably think the Kings and the Thunder. Let me know. Should they be on this list? It just doesn't. It's going to be a big deal if OKC Thunder wins. It's going to be big for the franchise, not just because they're winning a championship, but it's going to feel like the first time they won. No guy from 1979 is going to be like, yeah, I've been here before. I remember that we did this in 1979. We won the championship. So I remember. This is kind of an old hat for me. That guy's dead. So, yeah, thanks for hanging out. Be good to your mothers. Eat a corn dog.